Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to Astro 400. I am your host, Ned from West Virginia, and today I'm going to be drinking cookie flavored coffee. Yeah, that's a real thing. Can you see some over there? Just a little. Okay, there it is. This is a real thing. It's cookie flavored coffee out of this horribly inconvenient yellow mug. I mean, it's too small. Today on Astro 400, I'm going to be talking all about the star sign Scorpio and personality traits connected to this star sign. And the way I introduce all of these Astro 400 videos is I try to be very clear that I'm not someone who believes that the stars have this ability to send you some type of psychic and or magical power. No. Instead, I think it's much more about how we anticipate the changes in the seasons in relation to the date of our birth, and how do you look forward to the fall, or recognizing that your birth date is at a certain time throughout the year because it is recorded. Does that change in the seasons and the earth revolving around the sun affect your mood, your temperament, your personality, your sexuality, all of that? So we have an introduction here posted on Scorpios. And a Scorpio is from October 23rd to November 22nd. And astrology is always give or take a day or two. And the element for Scorpios is water. Now I'm going to try and watch what I say throughout this episode because my girlfriend is a Scorpio. So I'm going to try not to get into trouble. But some other people who are Scorpios are Leonardo DiCaprio, Bill Gates, Anne Hathaway, Katy Perry, Drake, and Lord. Yeah, 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 I am Lord. Now, I'm going to go over to allure.com. They're going to provide us with some introductory comments about a Scorpio. I've used Allure in at least one previous episode. They have a lot to say about astrology. Scorpio is one of the most misunderstood signs of the zodiac because of its incredible passion and power. A Scorpio is often mistaken for a fire sign. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. The first time I read that a Scorpio has the sign water, you think anything to do with the prefix Scorpio, like, well, it's not really a prefix. Scorpio, scorpion, the root, origin, whatever linguistic term you'd like to use. Doesn't that seem strange being a water sign? You would think that a Scorpio is going to be fire, but a Scorpio is often mistaken for a fire sign. In fact, Scorpio is a water sign, and that derives from its strength, psychic, and emotional realm. As I said, I don't really like the word psychic, but let's just keep going. Like fellow water signs Cancer and Pisces, a Scorpio is extremely clairvoyant and intuitive. Oh yes, when it comes to clairvoyance, I also think that that's getting into a bit of the well, in the weeds, for lack of a better term, spiritually in the weeds, if you'd like to say. But instead, I mean, this whole thing about intuition, I think that the Scorpios that I've known throughout my life have definitely had a lot of ways to see through people, more or less. They can just put on their Scorpio lenses and they can view people in somewhat of a transparent way, making other people appear transparent. I was watching the show Interrogation once, and one of the characters in that said that his psychologist can see right through him. And I was like, wow, I began to try and think, who did I know in my life that could actually see right through me? And that's the type of intuitive thinking that I think this is talking about. And if you want to respond to that in the comment section, has there ever been anybody who has been able to see right through you and just to truly comprehend you? What makes this water sign unique is its distinctive, venomous sting. That sounds dangerous, right? Like their celestial spirit animal, the scorpion, Scorpios lie in wait and strike when least expected. Life is a game of chess for these calculating water signs who are constantly plotting several steps ahead in order to orchestrate an eventual checkmate. This doesn't mean their intentions are necessarily nefarious. Scorpios simply know that they know what they want and they aren't afraid to work hard and play the long game to get it. I would also say that about these Scorpios that I've known personally. They also seem patient, but they aren't going to bow out just when the going gets tough. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the planet that governs both destruction and transformation. That's your planet, Pluto? That's your planet? You gotta get a better planet than that. I'm sorry. I don't know when this was created, but Pluto must be old. No, this really isn't. This is from 2021. So, power-hungry Scorpios must remember that if controlled by their egos, they are at risk of poisoning themselves. This sign is at its best when that intrinsic intensity is applied to deep, soulful connections with friends and lovers. Oh my gosh, isn't that the truth? Like, just having this type of energy, which seems like fire, okay, but if you put it in a good place, then it's that type of water power. And when you think about something like fire, it's okay, maybe fire can be constructive, but more often than not, fire fire can be definitely a very devastating creation, experience, all of that. Flooding in your house with water, that's bad, right? A fire in your house, that's definitely worse. I mean, people are going to freak out much more over a house fire versus the basement flooding, if you can catch my drift. Not to downplay anyone who's actually had bad experiences with that. I mean, my family certainly has. This sign is best. Okay, yeah, I did that one. But when a Scorpio builds trust with others, Scorpios can demonstrate unparalleled empathy, depth, and commitment that brighten even the darkest parts of Scorpio's magical psyche. And there might be a little bit playing to the crowd in this one when someone's saying some very wonderful things. Oh, yeah, did you know that Scorpios are the absolute best people to ever exist? That's more or less the takeaway from that. But let's focus in on these things. Intuition, um, devotion, dedication. That seems like what the commonality is in that particular article. Now I'm going to go over to Bustle, and I may have read one article from Bustle before, but this is titled "Everything You've Ever Needed to Know About Scorpio Zodiac Signs." If your birthday falls between approximately October 23rd and November 22nd, then congrats, you are a Scorpio. So, about that, like I said, astrology can always be give or take a day. These emotional mystery solvers love to get the truth at heart, no matter how scary it is. Boldness, but with dedication. There has to be a certain level of boldness. There has to be a certain type of resilience, because that means that someone is not being a pushover. Like we were talking about this in the most recent episode, all about the differences between loyalty and compassion. Well, this is something that needs to be identified. There's a very big difference between dedication and just being passive, because someone who is dedicated is going to stand up for what they believe in. They're trying to put that mental energy in a good place to, as they described it more as playing that game of mental chess. So, you have that going on. And then you also have someone who is not going to put up with someone else's crap. So if you want to challenge any of these things, you can put your responses in the comments section below. Whether you're a Scorpio, your crush or your partner is a Scorpio, or you just want to learn more about the 12 signs of the zodiac, here's the lowdown on everything Scorpio that you need to know about Scorpio zodiac traits. Scorpio, the deep feeler. A Scorpio is represented by the symbol of the scorpion, which speaks to this sign's intensity. They don't like to show it. I don't know if that's completely true. In fact, I think that Scorpios might like to show it a little bit, that they have this deep feeling and sensitive nature as well. They will lash out to protect themselves if they feel threatened. Maybe, but I'm not a I'm kind of 50-50 on that one. Scorpio's ruling planet is the dark and transformative Pluto. Not a real planet. Sorry. I wish it was. Those were the days. As one of the fixed zodiac signs, Scorpios are driven to reach their goals and have a great sense of control over their deep emotions. All right, I can agree with that. Scorpio energy can be hard to handle due to its emotional intensity and its power. It can be sometimes uncomfortable for those who don't know what to do with this sign's no nonsense attitude toward life. Scorpio born astrologer Narayana Montufar says Scorpio is the hardest sign to get to know, but when you get involved, they go all in. They're also incredibly psychic and can smell fakeness from a mile away. Now, I don't really think that's a psychic trait. Instead, I think that that is much more about, as we said, intuition or developing this type of transparency that they can put forward, almost like an X ray vision sort of thing. I know X ray vision and transparency aren't the exact same thing, but that's not psychic powers. That isn't this type of mental energy that somebody has that they can export outward into the physical world and alter the course of events. And I wish people wouldn't get so bogged down with that when it comes to astrology. So they can definitely sense fakeness is the last line here. Scorpio's energy is investigative and intuitive. Investigative, absolutely yes. That's one thing though that is partnered with all of these things: dedication, intuition, curiosity, investigation. Yeah, they're the kind of person who wants to learn everything. They're the kind of person that's going to remember everything. The kind of person who is going to seek out this information about you. Because if someone has this sense of intuition, no matter who they are, if they have this sense of intuition, and they have this sense of X-ray vision or transparent vision, then that means they have the ability to investigate, to learn things that other people won't see. And while Scorpios have a reputation for being intense, their transcendental water energy makes them in tune with life's mystical side. That's why this sign is often associated with the occult. Who were we talking about before? Drake and Katy Perry, Hollywood Illuminati rituals, maybe. Scorpio's romantic traits make them passionate lovers, cool, with an exciting side of danger. They tend to be on the defensive side when it comes to falling for someone, and it takes a lot to earn their trust. But once that happens, Scorpios are devoted partners who bring intimate connections and great sex to a relationship. That said, Scorpios require deep, unwavering loyalty from their partner, as any breach of trust could cause irreparable damage. If a Scorpio feels that their heart is being threatened, they'll immediately whip out their poison-filled stinger to protect themselves. Like, that might sound intense, right? But, like, I think if there's a thesis statement buried in this Bustle article, it is that, okay, that sounds really intense, really overbearing, really powerful, but in all reality, it just means that they have a greater sense of intuition into what someone is actually doing. And because if you're an investigative person who wants to learn more about people, the kind of person that might go through all your photos on Facebook and so on, that's learning about someone so that they can see through all of the facades that people try and build up. Well, what's this person going to do? I mean, like how should they respond if they catch somebody in a lie? Or what is the exact thing that they say here? Um, if there's any breach of trust, okay, that is going to be a twofold response if there's like a breach of trust because someone who's investigating, someone who is really looking into person. I mean, number one, let's not kid ourselves. They simply don't want to be wrong about something because if someone is really good at investigating into other people, they want to be good at investigating into other people and they don't want to be mistaken. Point number one, they just simply don't want to be wrong. None of us want to be wrong, but on that specific issue, that could be tied to Scorpio. The second way that that would be connected is I looked into you. I tried to evaluate you. I tried to get close to you. And I thought we actually had this connection, and then you broke it off. So that's almost like extreme deception indicated, and that makes it just a little bit nastier. Though, if that made sense at all, the whole point is through this desire to investigate, there also comes, well, there's certain levels of deception that the body can put out. Did you guys understand that when I said extreme deception indicated? What that means is that someone can tell a lie and none of the external telltale signs of lying comes out. Like, say, for example, I'm drinking cookie flavored coffee. Haha, I tricked you. It's not cookie flavored coffee, it's chocolate milk. Well, I mean, it actually is cookie flavored coffee, but that's just an example. I mean, the chocolate milk part, that was the lie. And if you didn't sense any of the telltale signs of lying, that's extreme deception indicated. So says me, anyway. I'm sure some experts and like polygraph examiners would add in some additional lines, but if someone feels that they have truly been deceived, then it's like, whoa, I'm an investigator. I'm a detective in my heart. And you still were able to hide stuff from me. You must be one evil, conniving person. So, the point is that that's why it's going to have that irreparable effect, and that's why trust would truly be broken for somebody with that personality type. Now, I would like to go over to a very basic website called Astrology.com to hear a little bit more about Scorpios. Scorpio traits and overview. The dates of Scorpio are October 23rd to November 21st. The element is water. The ruling planets are Mars and Pluto. I'm glad they threw in Mars, Pluto. They are the eighth house. Their body parts are the genitals and the bowels? What the fudge? Their colors are red and black, and their tarot card is death. Since I've been doing this series on Astro 400, and before I was doing this series, I would read up on astrology at many of these websites, and I never really encountered that before, that Scorpio has connection to the genitals and the bowel. But Scorpio is the eighth sign of the zodiac, and that shouldn't be taken lightly. Nor should Scorpios. Those born under this sign are dead serious in their mission to learn about others. Investigation. There's no fluff or chatter for Scorpios. Either these folks will zero in on the essential questions, gleaning the secrets that lie within. Absolutely. I agree with that. And when we're looking at no nonsense, okay, I was talking about this a lot in Virgo, about the concept of someone having a no nonsense attitude. I also have found that in Virgo, more so than a Scorpio. But I think that investigation, trying to truly establish trust, because the Scorpio has this in their mindset that they can cut through all of somebody's walls. I know it's an old song, but do you remember Miley Cyrus and Wrecking Ball and such, All I wanted was to break you. Okay, we're not going to do that. All I wanted was to break your walls and such. It's not so much about breaking somebody's walls down. It's instead, I can see through them and I can learn about this person's true agenda and this person's true personality. And if somebody can hide that from me, then they must have something very sinister going on, or they must have some sort of sinister element in their personality. And that's why they're able to get away with all this. The Scorpio zodiac sign concerns itself with beginnings and endings, and is unafraid of either. They also travel in a world that is black and white and has little use for gray. No, it's really through the gray area where we sort out the meanings of life. So, about this black and white, seeing the world in black and white, that's really not a very effective way to live in, because number one, people can try and force you into false dichotomies. Number two, there's this thing called the black and white fallacy. It has to be either this or that, and I'm going to be really long-winded about this. But I was listening to a video once from Noam Chomsky when he said that if you read the letters to technical scientific journals, then most of them are going to be about an experiment was being conducted and some coincidence happened. And just to make up a fictitious example, let's talk about a coincidence in a scientific experiment. You got baking soda, you got water, you combine you got baking soda, you got vinegar. I must have failed science. You got baking soda, you got vinegar, you combine them together, and you get a volcano. Baking soda and vinegar, right? I don't know why I was thinking about water, Scorpios or water. But if you combine baking soda and vinegar, you're going to get a volcano. And if you combine these two things, you get your volcano, and the lights go out. Oh, that's so. That was not as dramatic as I had intended. If you combine baking soda and vinegar and the lights go out, that's a coincidence. But did that little volcano experiment that you just did, that I absolutely butchered talking about, have anything to do with the lights going out? No, that's a coincidence. So, if you were to jump to conclusions, you could be like, all right, if you mix baking soda and vinegar, or even if you mix baking soda and water and the lights go out, it's because of the little materials in my test tubes or in my cups. No, it isn't. That's a coincidence. So the conclusion of that video is coincidence, contradiction, and the unexplained all exist in the scientific world, but they aren't significant of any facts or conclusions by themselves. It depends on the nature of said coincidence, contradiction, or unexplained phenomenon. So when somebody tells you, hey, you just contradicted yourself, you're going to be like, maybe I did. Maybe there was a reason for that. The historian Deborah Lipstadt also said once that pure consistency is the hobgoblin of small minds. Now, maybe she's not the first person to have said that, but that was the first place where I heard that saying, and that's another one that has also stayed with me. So people can try and force you into false dichotomies. Maybe there's something else in their equation that they are forgetting. Or maybe they're trying to push you down one of two pathways, and there's a third pathway that they didn't even know about, or additional information that could have influenced the decision. All of that, coincidence, contradictions, the unexplained. And finally, that it has to be either this or that. Pure consistency is the hobgoblin of small minds. If it's just this or that, and you're always choosing this and never that, there could be valuable pieces of info that you are overlooking. And so anytime that somebody has no time for the gray area, Scorpio, they talk about it here, but any star sign, that's something worth challenging. The Scorpio zodiac sign concerns itself, yeah, with beginnings and endings. We did that one. Scorpio symbolism plus myth. The constellation known as Scorpio goes back to Babylonian times, when it was called the creature with the burning sting. I love history. Hey, you know that thing that has that burning sting? Let's call it the creature with the burning sting. Scorpio contains the red star Antares, which means the rival of Mars, and it is also called the heart of the Scorpion. This potent fixed star is observed in various astrological and magical practices as having an intense Mars-like quality. In Greek mythology, the Scorpion is associated with the death of Orion. There are many versions of this tale, but the one connected to Scorpio tells of a boastful hunter Orion, who bragged that he could kill all the animals in the wild kingdom. The earth goddess Gaia objected and sent a scorpion to stop Orion. He confronted and fought the scorpion, but died, when the great beast stung him in the head. Poor bastard. The scorpion was placed in the heavens as a reward from Gaia for his service, and Zeus placed Orion there as well to commend his valiant fight. Cool story, bro. Scorpio element, mode, and season. Mid-autumn. Scorpio season in the western tropical zodiac begins on October 23rd, commencing the middle of autumn in the northern hemisphere. Alright, now this is very important to talk about. I used to have this one book back when I was studying languages and such, and it talked about how if you have your favorite season this time, if your favorite season is spring, then you will feel this. If your favorite season is the winter time, you're going to feel this. If your favorite season is fall or autumn, then you are a romantic person. And to put that into context, I believe that they meant that you're very sentimental, you are very passionate, and you are very well, fantasy filled, in other words. Not like in the delusional sense, but in the ambitious sense, or things that you're striving toward. So with a Scorpio, the bulk of Scorpio is in October, which is probably the coolest month of the year. I mean, sorry, October and November. It is the probably most awesome time of the year because you got Halloween, you got all the changes in the leaves. That smell of autumn leaves is absolutely amazing. Hot apple cider, all of that great stuff. I love autumn. I love the fall. But is there also some connection to emotions, sensitivity, as well as fantasy filled passion? Not delusions. Scorpio delusional? No. Fantasy filled passion? I think so. From this point, the days continue to decrease in length toward the winter solstice. It is during Scorpio's time that many world cultures observe the time of death and rebirth. This is why I wanted to talk about this connection to astrology, like the human brain anticipating changes in the seasons in relation to the date of your birth, because it's important to many people. And people observe these things. It's just they would always focus on things that are outside of the human body. And for many years, I mean, a lot of the primitive peoples around the world, I mean, going back to what, 12,000 BCE or something, they probably didn't have the anatomical knowledge of all the different parts of the brain. How is your cerebrocerebellum affected by this, that, and the other? So instead, what they did was they would look at the stars and be like, okay, we notice these constellations, but we also observe the seasons, and we can see that it is getting cold in the wintertime and hot in the summertime, in the southern hemisphere, vice versa. And then they're looking toward the winter months as a period of death, and the spring is the period of birth. It's very circular in terms of the time fashion, but let's just keep going here. Um, the whole point is, I think this could have effects on the human thought process. From this point, the days continue to decrease in length toward the winter solstice. There are many holidays that observe the themes of death and rebirth, like Halloween, Samhain, All Saints' Day, and El Dia de los Muertos. Scorpion's connections with inward reflection include the shadows and transformation, and this is mirrored in the mystery and melancholy of the autumn season. Scorpio is the third of the four fixed signs of the zodiac, who all hold the elemental energy of endurance and stability in the center phase of the four seasons. Scorpio begins in the middle of autumn, when the season is most fixed and established, lending to deep, tenacious, and obsessive tendencies. Deep, tenacious, and obsessive tendencies. Firstly, if we're going to say that Scorpios are investigating, you wouldn't be much of an investigator if you weren't deep, tenacious, and obsessive. How could you be a true investigator if you weren't obsessive? That has to be there. But also this whole thing about transparency and intuition. Those things need to also be partnered with deep, tenacious obsessions. Otherwise, you just wouldn't do it. So, um, this is very important stuff. Water element. Scorpio's personality traits are related to its element, which is water, the second heaviest element thought by ancient astrologers to be fluid and adaptive, yet a tangible form of matter. Water represents moistening and cohering principles that bind and connect all forms of nature. Without it, nothing that takes material form could stick together. Water fertilizes the earth so that nature and creativity can incubate and bloom. Scorpio's creativity and intuition and imagination, as well as strong investigative powers, are all akin to consolidating connectivity of the water element. Many of the words that I've been using throughout this discussion, like, are quite synonymous with these: creativity, intuition, imagination, strong investigative powers. Creativity is also very important because if you have the ability to be imaginative and you have the ability to be passionate, those things can very easily come together to allow for creativity and the production of artistic developments, or even just imagination, like imaginative developments. All of that stuff's going to come together, but that's why I don't think that it means anything about some type of delusion or some type of inability to differentiate between fantasy and reality. Instead, I think that a Scorpio can understand fantasy, can understand reality, but also they're definitely going to figure out what is what. The domicile of Mars. In classical astrology, Mars is the planetary ruler of both Aries and Scorpio. Aries was thought to be the day or diurnal home of Mars, when Mars was finding a second nocturnal home in brooding and secretive Scorpio. In Scorpio, Mars has a full affinity and potency in the warrior-like tendencies of this sign, but because it is the nocturnal home, these powers take on a more secretive and covert expression. So we should be careful around Scorpios. They're going to be warriors, but covert warriors. They aren't going to punch you in the face. Instead, they'll do a sneak attack late at night or something. Scorpio is more patient and emotionally and psychologically nuanced than brash and brazen. Well, absolutely. If you're an investigator, you want to be a brash and brazen investigator, that might work on the TV shows. But, like, okay, I'm here to ask questions and I'm going to punch you in the face. You're not going to get too far with your investigations. And also, that new expression that I was talking about in a previous episode, some problems are better solved with a scalpel rather than a sledgehammer. The ruler of Pluto, the planet Pluto, named for the god of the underworld, was discovered during a pivotal time in modern history. Founded by, Found by astronomer Clyde Tombaugh in 1930, Pluto appeared out of the darkness through theories of a trans-Neptunian planet. History has changed, it seems. At time, many powerful Plutonian synchronicities were happening in the world, like massive world wars, the exploration of depth psychology, and the splitting of the atom. I'm really not a big fan of all of these things. As I said, the changes in the seasons, the Earth going around the sun, and of course, which means this is why we're seeing the constellations in the sky at certain times. That's when that can affect the way that we think. But is there actually any energy that is coming from these stars or the planet Pluto, or things are actually happening in an en masse cultural event? I don't think so. I don't really like that, but I would like to cite astrology.com one more time. And this article is written by Debbie Stapleton because I read a lot from it. But you can see very clearly that they're really just making a lot of jumps from how does it affect the human brain to how is your brain able to emit this power that's affecting the universe, or how is the universe emitting this power to affect your brain. So that stuff it's very difficult to document because number one, it's not scientifically accepted. Number two, you can't even really analyze the information if it's just this energy that no one can truly see. We're just kind of guessing about it. That's why I like to look at things in relation to the seasons, the sun, and the alignment of the stars as all secondary, because we know what the seasons are like, and we know what we're feeling when we're going through the month of October or the month of November and the season of autumn. My moods and personality are very different, and if you were born during those months, then does that affect the way that you're thinking? And of course, I think the answer is yes. I'm going to go over to a different article from PrepScholar.com. I used one of their articles in a recent discussion here on this channel, so if you haven't subscribed yet, you can always hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps things out, and if you have friends or family who are into astrology, or even if they're not, and they're skeptical, put something in the comment section and share with them, send it to them, and like let them have a chance to respond to it as well. So over at PrepScholar.com, often mistaken for a fire sign because of their fierce independence, Scorpios are actually a deeply emotional and sensitive water sign. While they can be intimidating, Scorpios are also the most loyal friends and partners you could ever ask for. But here's something else though about transparency, investigative thinking. That's going to lead to independence. If you can see through people, and if you're good at investigating, that doesn't mean that everybody else in the room is going to be good at investigating. And it also doesn't mean that everyone in the room is going to think like you. But if you have these abilities, not everyone's going to want to hear the results of the investigation. So that's definitely going to lead to independence. Scorpios are born between October 23rd and November 21st. The Scorpio personality is often misunderstood due to their intensity and their tendency to be harsh. However, Scorpios are extremely emotional and crave intimacy. Yay. They have a powerful presence and demanding personalities, and their penchant for mystery is what makes them one of the most interesting signs. Scorpios are extremely deep and emotional people. and intense in all of the things that they do. They're natural leaders and can be very serious. Scorpios are one of the most interesting signs because of their intensity, and there are some key Scorpio characteristics to be aware of that make them stand apart. The positive Scorpio traits: determined, brave, loyal, honest, ambitious. I think that this website here, Prep Scholar, is giving us a lot of new words to explore. We definitely talked about determined before, about how someone has to go after things. Brave, sure, because there's a certain sense of bravery in being the covert warrior, the warrior at night or something, the nocturnal home of Ares, right? Or Mars, the god of war. So when we look at brave, though, there are definitely going to be two sides to that. That's going to be the covert side, not the brash and brazen. And I think it's very important that a different website we were talking about differentiated this type of bravery. Covert bravery, not brash bravery. Loyal. Yeah, as I said, and I think in some other posts here, we've also read that Scorpios would be excellent friends and intimate partners. Honest. They will always tell you what they think and tell you the truth, no matter what. Well, we haven't talked too much about honesty here, but I think, though, that maybe they are very good at learning the honest outcomes. Um, it's just something that hasn't come up yet. Ambitious. They are single-minded in achieving their goals, and they set high goals for themselves. Scorpios don't see limits in their lives, and they don't let anyone tell them that something they want isn't possible. Hey, that's all great stuff, but Scorpios are single-minded. Well, I guess if you want to connect that to that whole black and white issue, they don't like to explore the gray area. Is that really single-minded though? The negative traits of Scorpio. Like their symbol, the scorpion, Scorpios have a tendency to lay in wait, collecting information and trust until it is their time to strike. Scorpios need to be aware of some of their harsher qualities, and so do those who have Scorpios in their lives. Scorpios are jealous, Scorpios are secretive, Scorpios are resentful, Scorpios are controlling, and Scorpios are stubborn. Whew, that's a lot of stuff going on there. As far as being secretive, did I just knock something over? I'll pick it up later. As far as Scorpios being secretive, I'll pick it up now. As far as Scorpios being secretive, you're not going to be an investigator without a few secrets. You're not going to be a covert warrior without a few secrets. Sure. Jealous. Well, I think this more relates to that type of intuition we were talking about earlier. That they're actually really good at learning about people, about separating between the BS and the truth. And if someone is actually able to still give them some cause for doubt, yeah, that could lead to jealousy, but I think that's more about trying to uphold that principle of intuition or taking pride in their own intuitive capabilities. Resentful. Everybody can be resentful. I don't think that's exclusively Scorpio. Controlling. Let's just read this section here. Scorpios like to be in control. Their fierceness and intensity means that they think they know what's best, and the people in their lives will often find themselves under Scorpio's thumb. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now hold on a second there. What about all the stuff? They're the covert warriors, the nocturnal home of Ares. Controlling? Unless you're talking about controlling with a scalpel and not a sledgehammer. That doesn't seem to be too coinciding. Even the whole thing about natural born leaders, that's also not really coinciding with covert operating in a behind the scenes way. They always have a plan. It's almost like working in the shadows and being methodical. No, this one's saying that they're actually the brash kind of let's start a fist fight sort of thing. You'll do what I say now. I don't really agree with this actually, this controlling thing. Stubborn. Stubbornness can be a helpful trait. Sure, it means Scorpios stand their ground and stick to their principles. However, they're slow to change their ways and they don't like compromise. Not liking compromise does not mean they are controlling. Standing their ground does not mean they are controlling. If anything, that's secondary. To stand your ground, you have to be responding to somebody else. Ooh, this is good. Scorpio traits in a relationship. Scorpios are traditional when it comes to relationships and prefer serious commitments. They give their love and loyalty in their relationships. Platonic relationships, talking about only friends now. Scorpios are notoriously control freaks. How can you be a control freak if you're an investigator and a covert warrior? I don't get it. They are loyal and connect with people on a deep emotional and intellectual level. You don't need to be controlling for that. Professional relationships. At work, the Scorpio personality doesn't let anything get in its way. A Scorpio thrives on competition at work and will go above and beyond with a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. And advice for Scorpio: no one likes to be controlled. Number two, don't be afraid of your own emotions. Number three, surround yourself with easygoing people. Number four, work on forgiveness. And number five, celebrate your successes. I think that's just an excellent way to conclude the episode. So, thank you to everybody who has listened to this. One more time, you can hit the like button and subscribe if you want. And I'm also the host of Black Box Online Radio here on YouTube. It is a true crime channel that talks a lot about serial killers, mysteries, the Zodiac Killer. So I invite you all to check that out. It's available on Launchpad 1 as well, formerly known as Launchpad DM, Black Box Online Radio. And thank you so much for listening to this. I'm going to be doing one video for each star sign, so please look out for some more in the future. And there are already numerous Astro 400 videos out there. All right, everybody, have a good night, and I will see you next time, all right?